Well, you started off with an 80-inch Series 1 with the wheelbase. Yeah, 80 inches from the centre point of the front to the centre point of the rear hub. Okay. The length was increased so that the load bed could be increased. So it's only the back half was increased in length.
Alright.
Okay. And then you went to 88-inch.
But the seating position remained the same.
The seating position remained the same. So you start off with where your windscreen is, the bulkhead, and the posts that go up from that. That's the A post. Then you have a predetermined length of door
to your seat.
Well, the length of the door. Your seat tends to be up against the back, like this would be up against the back of where the B post would be. So you've got your front window.
Yeah.
You've got your A post, your B post, and then the length of the vehicle changes behind this internal bulkhead.
Alright, yeah.
So you've got front bulkhead, rear bulkhead, everything else goes backwards from that. Actually, that hasn't changed in all of those years. You take any series door and fit it to a Defender, or take any Defender and fit it to a series. The size of the door is exactly the same. It fits. And everything that's changed has been behind this point.
So from 88 to 90 inch is
88 to 90 inch, 88, 109 is exactly the same. It's only the back half that's got longer. 130, it's only the back half. You line, if you line an 88, a 109, a 90, a 110 and a 130 up in a car park and look along that line, they're all identical up to the point of the B post. From the B post backwards, that's when things change.
Right, yeah.
So you end up with a fixed distance
for your seating position,
from the seating position to the front bulkhead. And the steering wheel hasn't really changed that much. The dashboard has, because going back to the Series 1, you had basically the bulkhead with a little shelf. Then we had a little bit of foam and material and stuff put on to make it look better. When you got to Series 3, Defender was a little bit more luxurious. And then 2007, you ended up with the one-piece plastic dashboard to make it look more car-like. Brought that distance even closer between the driver and the bulkhead.
Yeah.
So, but the steering wheel really hasn't changed position. And then we get into the territory where you have safety. And we have these days airbags. We have for a long time. But and then you have to put an airbag into a steering wheel and into a passenger glove box. And there's not really a huge amount of distance. If you look at your steering wheel and your Defender, where it is, and where you sit, and compare that with my Freelander, for instance, and where I sit, that distance is somewhat greater. The biggest problem you've got is if you deploy an airbag from basically that distance to you, you're going to kill the occupant.
Alright, it needs a certain amount of room.
It needs a certain amount of room to fully inflate, and you're going towards it at a reasonable pace, and it's coming towards you a lot faster, and you will meet in the middle.
So it's physically impossible to...
So it's physically impossible to put an airbag into a Defender without moving the steering wheel backwards or the driver's seat backwards.
Yeah.
But if you move the driver's seat backwards, all of a sudden, if I'm here and I want to move that back 6 inches,
sounds easy.
15 centimetres, move it back 30 centimetres. Sounds easy, but all of a sudden, the B post of my vehicle, and possibly the hard top going that way, because with like van with panel sides, is now.
That's a fixed point.
That's a fixed point. You can't. You'd have to make the doors longer, but you can't do that without changing the shape of the vehicle.
All right. So
and losing some of the load space in the back.
Yeah.
If you keep the same chassis.
All right.
So the biggest problem the designers have got right now is that you've got an A post, you've got a B post. That gives you your iconic shape.
That's your starting point.
And that's your starting point.
Design a car.
Well, in the case of this, yes.
Yeah.
And now you have to increase the length of the door so that you've got from the steering wheel to the driver, that space has to be made bigger.
Purely for the airbag.
Purely for the airbag.
It's just a safety
Yeah,
issue.
safety thing. Okay.
All right. Back then they didn't have that because none of them.
Nobody really got upset when they got killed. You know.
All right.
But, you know, now legislation and people have the right to reply and, you know, don't like getting killed.